All right, so we're joined by a plethora of great professionals today. In particular, Dr. Muriel Reed there with the City of Jackson. And I'll let the other guests introduce themselves, but we got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. This is our college career readiness class. We're in the Information Technology Career Cluster, and we're recording this for all of our friends at Madison County Schools. Rosa Scott, Madison Central, Germantown High School, Ridgeland High School, the Academic Options Center, my good friend Tiffany Turnage over at Madison Career and Technical Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you guys so much for taking some time for us today.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Now, Dr. Reed, I know a little bit about you. You're there with the City of Jackson as the first ever director of IT, a department that was just created a few years ago. And I'll let your other guests introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what they do.
Well, which one? Well, I guess I'll go ahead and go. So I'm Damian Brown. I'm a Chief Information Security Officer and a Director of Information Security at Jackson State University.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
And I am Leslie McCurl. I am the CEO of the information technology firm Data Smart LLC.
Oh, wow. So we got City of Jackson, Jackson State University, and a tech entrepreneur, which is so cool.
Yep.
Next year for our entrepreneurship series, we'd love to have you on that. So
Okay.
uh, obviously, all of you work in IT, and I think it's interesting because we have an entrepreneur, one there in the university there, and then one with the municipal government. And I think it's safe to say that every single company, every single entity, no matter what they are, has an IT department or they're using IT contractors. So just talk about how IT touches so much, and even just in the last 5 years, that has increased touching so many areas of business, so many areas of employment, and so many areas of our everyday life.
Yeah, I guess I can chime in on that pretty quickly. I think everybody's heard the phrase a jack of all trades, master of none. Uh, that's kind of like the hat that we wear, and that's something that we have to be able to operate in daily. I think it's adaptability, and I think most folks you find that are involved in information technology are very resourceful and adaptable, right? Which is going to be some of their main strengths. So again, IT is now, I think, the fabric of the world, right? And it's the interconnecting piece in everything that we do. So we kind of have to learn to be that medium. And from the programming field, we're sort of the APIs, right, between different industries, software, hardware, whatever, the concept. That's my little 2 cents.
Cool.
Yeah. Man, I guess I'll go next. You know, just to chime in to what Mr. Leslie was saying, this thing is it's a service oriented profession. A lot of people just feel like it's all technical, it's all keyboard, it's really service oriented. And one of the things that you need to tell, students is that when they go out into the world and they want to get a IT job or a cybersecurity job, there's people that are gonna really look to them, number one, to tell them why things aren't working, how to keep
Yep.
things working, and then how to protect it, and then how to get it back to, operating performance. So it's all really service oriented at the end of the day. And I like what he said. I was talking to, because I also teach in two different places at Jackson State in the Boston area. And one of the adult learners was, just looking at the background, and he was like, "Man, you got a breadth of everything." And I was like, my deal is 7 miles wide and like 2 yards deep. And so you got to literally, I got to talk to lawyers, I got to talk to vendors, I got to talk to users. Man, I have to talk to law enforcement. So there's a lot of different things. So you got to be a service oriented person.
Absolutely.
Also, one thing that we do is solve problems. That's basically what we do. People will come up to us and say, I want to do this. They have no idea what it takes to really pull something like that off. We try to make it happen for them. One thing that I can say for students that's trying to get into technology, just know that it's not all about coding. it is a wide array of things, and you can essentially create your own lane. I know for me, I wasn't thinking about technology. Actually, I wanted to be a nurse, and I actually enrolled in school to be a nurse. And when it got to the bloody parts of nursing, I was through. I'm done.
Oh, I'm with you.
I ran away from that. I started working because I really didn't know what I wanted to do at that point. Um, One thing that I realized was everybody would come to me with their problems. And that's how I started really in IT, was solving problems. Then it transitioned over to, do you know how to do this on a computer? And I'm like, yeah, it's easy. So I went into fixing PCs and giving recommendations on how we can make things better and do things more efficiently. And essentially throughout my career, I've been able to create a lane for myself.
Wow.
And it's wide open. And just like my colleagues say, we do everything on a daily basis. I talk to the legal department, I talk to finance and helping them solve their problems. Um, Public safety, that's a real hot topic around the world. So we do a lot of different things. So essentially, you can create your own lane in technology. You just have to be willing to put in the work and trust your abilities to solve problems.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's interesting because because you said you solved the problems. You're there with the local government. You're not a government official. You're just helping the government run, and it's the same way with any type of business. We have another friend of this class that manages the server for the Department of Revenue. He has no idea about finance. He doesn't have an accounting background. He doesn't have a finance background. All he knows is this server can't go down, and we have to manage it. So it really is so many areas of business that have nothing to do with IT that need IT professionals and IT skills.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things that I was gonna mention too, because you're talking about young learners and you're talking about students, and I like what Dr. Reed was mentioning because I always look at it, from my time, in the reserves, from my time in the army, and it's always amazed me that you got somebody that could be 5'3", or you got somebody that could be 6'2", but we all have to shoot an M16 and we all have to hit the target. There's different sizes, there's different builds, and there's different ways that everybody, hits the target, but they can hit the target and they can, hit and aim and, score. And so the deal is that the way that I'm going to shoot my M16 might be the different way that you shoot it, but we're all going to hit the same target. And it's kind of like our DNA and our fingerprint. The way that I do cybersecurity is not the way that Leslie does it or Dr. Reed does it, but we're all in the same lane and we're running parallel. And there's just some common truths to what we do. And so everybody has a unique trait, and there's a unique trait in your students, whether they want to do IT, cybersecurity, operational technology. There's a space for them. And man, we talking $1 trillion industry. So
Yeah.
the market share, you can jump in at any time if you put in the work. So
Yeah, and the cool thing about IT, and the only reason I know this because I've had IT people tell me this out of their own mouth. And I think that's cool, Damien. You went to the military because the military is a great place to get into IT because and obviously we encourage our kids to use the best option for them. And I know over at Jackson State, great computer science program. Dr. April Tanner is also a friend of this
yeah,
class.
Dr.
She does
Tanner,
a great
yep,
job. Yeah, she does a
yep.
great job over there. And we have a lot of kids that want the HBCU experience. We have some that want to go to the 4-year universities, but we have some that say, look, I want to work in tech, but I don't want to put the financial burden on my family. I don't want to spend 4 years in school paying for things. This is a field where that's not necessarily what you need. We have great community colleges around that can get you certifications in a year, and we mentioned the military and also the boot camp. If kids are thinking about getting into tech, obviously we're not discouraging them to go to college, but if that's not on their radar, this is still a field that they can find a very good footing and make a great living in.
They can, man. Man, just you poking me, man, because this is something that I definitely wholeheartedly, am passionate about. Um, it's all about mentor coaching and teaching. You're right. I mean, listen, I do work at Jackson State. Don't get it wrong. And, I do promote the school. The institution is great. The institution is one way. It's not the way.
Yep.
You do community colleges. You can do certifications through CompTIA, get Network Plus and, Security Plus. So there's different fields that you can go in to get this thing. And, you know, what I did was I worked in a oil and gas company. I was in the reserves or whatnot. But when I got back from Afghanistan, there was an opportunity to train in a DoD cybersecurity exercise, and I knew that
Wow.
was going to be, the new wave. And there's people that, gave me the opportunity. I took it, and I stayed there for like about 9 years. And then I look up and next day, and I'm the Director of Information Security and Chief Information Security
Wow.
Officer. So it's really a matter of your grind, and it's really a matter of taking the advantage when you get it. If we're making ourselves available, if the Army makes themselves available, if industry makes itself available, you take it. You don't sit down and double think it.
Right. So
I know.
I'll chime in for a second. I think I was more along the lines of Dr. Reed, but I'm a huge proponent of certifications as well because I feel that again, nothing against the institutions as well, but I think the certifications provide the kind of hands-on application that you're going to see in a real world experience. I myself, a graduate of the University of Mississippi, but when I got there, I was a pre-med biology major, right? And so I transitioned after I found out that, hey, look, I don't want to do 7 more years of school after I graduate, right? Med school. So I was like, well, let me find something else that, either I was, gifted for or more versatile. And it turned out that, technology was going to be the thing for me. And so as I graduated from University of Mississippi, I started to focus more on the certification side as well. So I've kind of racked up a bit of them, which kind of aids with what I currently do now, right? So I had the hands-on experience before I ever got into the field. So that would be my advice or encouragement for those who are looking for maybe the less expensive route, right? But it's going to be that doesn't mean it's going to be less work, right?
There you
Again,
go.
you get what
There
you
you
put
go.
in, right? You get what you put in, and you become a master of what you practice, right? So I would definitely always encourage the certification route.
Yeah, and our students have the opportunity to get certifications in high school before they graduate. And I
That's
mentioned my friend
beautiful.
Tiffany over there at the Career Center for Madison County Schools. These kids have the opportunity over 2 years to get IT certifications before they graduate high school. They can start working in the field immediately and then go to school part time. So there's opportunities right out of high school, and I think that is not stressed enough.
Yeah, I want to add just a little gem here. Um, Anyone that has about $9 can go and sign up for a Udemy course. Take that course and continue to build. Self-learning matters. In this field, it is performance based. And once you have that knowledge, you have that knowledge and you just
Right.
keep building on that knowledge. I learned how to code through a course on Udemy, and it was $9. Actually, it was on sale. It was a course that I think it was like 125, but I got it for $9. And I still have that course and I refer back to that course. And I know how to code through Udemy for $9.
Wow. All right, they're handing me some questions, but one thing I also want to talk about is that this field obviously has a huge need for diversity, and we have a lot of first generation Americans in our district. In our district, we have a lot of ones that would be first generation college students. We have a lot of kids that have never seen anybody in their family do anything tech related, and that's not their fault. It's just this is a career that has not been readily available and readily pushed until the last decade or so. And it is only growing. You look at the hospitals now. You have more tech people than you have healthcare professionals. So it really is something that needs skilled young people to consider getting into. And one thing I like to talk about too is they're all watching you right now on a MacBook on an iOS system. and they don't want to learn these other operating systems. And I can tell you, even as a teacher, I've had to learn multiple software programs, and I'm not even an IT person.
Man, you better
So
tell them, you better tell them 90% of the world works off of Windows OS. Why? Because it's scalable, it's cheaper.
Mhm.
And so you definitely need to know that. And if you're talking about being a security professional, you need to learn Linux. You need to learn Linux, and you need to learn those skills. So yeah, you're gonna have to bounce from those different operating systems.
Yeah, yeah, and if they can't, again, I agree with you, Damien, because if you can't get onto what Mr. Brown just said, think of it like this. Um, the more specialized your skill set, right? Um, the higher the rate in some instances, right? So you always want to be able to capitalize on that, and you want to be prepared for jobs rather than not, right? So of course, 90% of the market share is Microsoft based, right? But you still have those other operating systems that still need to be serviced and supported, and you still need to have that applicable understanding on how to do so as an IT professional, right? So I think that it behooves most of us anyway, or those who want to have a piece of that market share, to be able to have to be able to capitalize on the knowledge base. So again, you become a master at what you practice. So I would always recommend that you jump in and you actually get involved with every operating system and hardware or whatever else you want to get involved with, so you have the knowledge base to be able to compete. This is a very competitive industry as well. Right. So that would be my main add-on.
I know for us with city government, we have budget constraints and we're not always able to purchase Apple products. Now, we do have some here in the city. However, it's very few. I can't say that, but our technicians have to know how to work on those.
That's
In the
right.
event we need the person, the end user needs service.
That's right.
yeah, and before I get to their questions, the last thing I want to talk about is, when we talk about coding, we talk about IT. The kids are into the games. I was a big gamer when I was in high school and in college, and all that's a lot of fun. But the next billion-dollar tech idea is going to be something cybersecurity or governmental based. So even though the games are fun, why should these kids that are starting to learn to code or getting into IT really, they want to be entrepreneur? I want to be a tech entrepreneur. I hear that all the time. Why should they think outside the box a little bit about coming up with the next tech idea?
Well, again, I think technology is based on innovation, right? And I think we have to be innovative in the way we approach different subject matters. For one, uh, you always want to kind of stand out with your problem solving abilities.
There you go.
And that's what makes waves in the industry. There's a million ways to do things, as Mr. Brown said earlier. We can do things a million ways and still achieve the same goal. But I think for those who kind of sit in the upper echelons of the industry, like Apple, Microsoft, and Linux, and things like that, they've done things in a more unique way than most of the other players in the game, right? So the goal is to always be innovative and to stand ahead of your peers. And you do that by going outside of the box, right? Even though we have these frameworks that we can work within. So again, I'm a huge proponent of innovation, just doing things in a unique fashion, and going away from the norms while still being compliant, to say the least.
Um, Go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Reed.
Yeah, so I want to say that this is a chance to be creative and innovative when you're talking about creating a game or providing solutions of some sort. It doesn't just have to be inside the STEM realm. We have arts where you can be creative with Adobe, those types of products. You have to remember that we need tools globally, not just here. So think along the lines of yes, I know that I live in Mississippi, but there's a whole world that need what you have to solve a particular problem, whether it's local or on a global scale. So don't be afraid to just start building, and then don't be afraid to go into other areas like metaverse or virtual worlds.
Yes.
Um, and think about it as being like a tech influencer. You know, you want to make sure that whatever you're putting out, it can help um, across the globe, you know. So don't just be caught in Mississippi. Think outside the box, be a creator, be an innovator. And by doing that, you never know where you will land.
Absolutely. Well, I do have some questions from the students. I'll get to as many of these as I can. I like this first one. This is Tredarius Quinn. He's in ninth grade. He's a member of our band here at Velma Jackson. And he asked if I was interested in coding, what would be the first coding language I would need to learn?
Man, well, I'm gonna tell you like this. From a security standpoint, one of the first languages that you need to learn is Python. And the reason why I say that is because you're breaking the traditional mold. A lot of times, traditionally, what you would want to do is you would want to study C++ or those types of things. Learning Python is going to help you in a cybersecurity space anyway. um, really automate, workflows in the cybersecurity tools. I've got endpoint tools that with Python coding, I can automate an entire workflow and go back to doing what I'm doing. There's a group a presentation, couple of meteorology students through Python and accessing a website. They were able to take data patterns in weather, and correlate and pull those things down. So that one of the first things that I would learn, is Python. Python is easy. It's an easy code, language to learn, and it'll serve you well. And you show up on an interview knowing that, and an employer knows you know how to do that. You've just automated a lot of their tools and a lot of their instances. So,
Wow.
yep.
I agree.
I'd agree with that. Security wise, Python, mobile development. You might want to get into the iOS, Android market as well, because those types of development have big payouts, right? When we're talking about catering to a consumer base, that is largely the majority right now. You're also looking at website development, Visual Basics, things of that nature, right? You got a large use case for that programming language. So the list goes on and on.
Yeah, and it's fun. And you mentioned that too. You know, every place you go now, as soon as you walk in the door, download our app.
That's
Like
right. There
you
you
even go to
go.
church. You go to church, download our app. You go in the
There
hospital,
you
download
go.
our app.
There you
So
go.
the app development is so big. This
Yeah.
is Ariel Snow. She's in ninth grade, one of our cheerleaders here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, you mentioned that you do problem solving. So what are some of the problems that you solve while you're on the job?
That's a long list. Um, so let's start with just yesterday we had fire station to go down. So
Oh,
we
wow.
had to, right. So that's you can end up on the news with that one. We had to find out what was wrong. Was it an internal problem or external problem? We also had we have a lot of different things to go haywire all the time. But yesterday, that was one of the things that we definitely had to get back online. Another one is renewals. We do have to process paperwork and documentation on the various tools that we use in the city. So if there is an issue with getting payments or going through the city council
Wow.
workflow, things like that, we have to solve those problems. So it's not just a technical problem, so to speak, just like a fire station going down. It could be a procurement problem that we're having to get a particular vendor paid so that we can continue to provide service to the city.
Yeah, and that just shows you that IT is important to people's safety and people's money. People's livelihoods are at stake over the IT people doing their job. That is a great example.
Right.
So I'll go ahead and shoot. When you're dealing with like large scale deployments, you have time constraints that you always have to, or deadlines that you have to meet. So IT development or IT rollouts are things that have to be strategized properly, have to be planned and deployed according to a certain time frame. So you got to be sort of a project manager as well. That's one of the many hats that you'll wear as an IT professional. And then when you have service affecting issues that may arise from ransomware or whatever security type issue. And I know Mr. Brown can speak to a lot of that, but we've also had to help clients recover from certain intrusions that they would acquire through the network, through whatever acquisition point it was actually derived from. But you have to put together a well thought out plan, and you have to recoup because from the point that the client goes down, in some cases, they're losing money, right? As a lack of operation. So you have to always have the disaster recovery, the backup business continuity plans in place. And you have to be able to implement those in a timely fashion to restore services back for the client. So these are just, and I'm trying to put this in a nutshell for a lot of the questions that are being asked, but as an IT professional, you actually have to live through this to understand the process and kind of like the damage that it creates if you don't have a well thought out plan. Right. And if you don't have a team that executes properly, right. So this is why it pays to understand your craft and to also be a master of what you're doing. Right.
Yeah. Just to add real quick, so you could get some more questions. Real quick, I'll you have to learn how to be a storyteller too. So let me tell you this story. All right, because and students, you do have to do this because everything is
Right.
on a 5th grade, 8th grade level. So when you're talking to people, you got to explain exactly what happened. So there I was hired in January, right here at Jackson State, and I'm allowed to tell this story. And everything's going along, and I'm shaking hands. Everything's good, learning the lay of the land. The next month, when I come back from lunch, I get an email, and one of the tools and one of the alerts says that you may have lateral movement. Long story short, lateral movement is not good in any environment. I'll just leave it at that. So what happened? We have a managed security service provider. We got a big company that helps us track things in the network. And bottom line, the problem solving that I had to do that day and from here on out is, how did someone that is not supposed to be in our network got in? How long have they been here? And then how can I keep people out of the network that don't belong in the network moving forward? And the problem solving is one person. The problem solving is learning how to protect against a group. And then the problem solving comes, how do I keep an entire nation state or a country out of my environment? So these are a part of the problem solving skills at a large level, and it involves talking to everybody in the environment, whether it is a student, whether it's the president, whether it's everybody. So those are the problem solving skills that I need, in my daily job.
All right, I got time for one more. This is Callista Brown. She's in 9th grade. And she asks, two of you mentioned that you majored in something else before you were an IT professional. So what was it that made you change your focus in college to technology?
I'll let Dr. Reed answer that first.
I know for me, it was always something new. It was never a dull day. You don't have the same day twice in a row. It's always evolving. And I'm a person that likes to do things. I like to learn. So being in technology just came natural for me.
Yeah. Well, I think I've always been a natural problem solver, but I kind of stumbled on the IT because I was pre-med biology, which is completely the opposite side of the spectrum. But I got to a certain point in my life and I was like kind of squeamish with blood and all that kind of stuff, as a youngster. And I decided, you know what, I'll go do something that's a little bit more, I guess, abstract, right? In a sense, got into the field, and again, I was able to engage the natural ability that I have to problem solve. I'm goal oriented, process oriented, and I'm customer service oriented as well, which is what I think Mr. Brown said earlier. Because again, this is a customer service industry, no matter how you look at it.
Absolutely.
So I
Yeah.
think my natural skills and abilities kind of naturally gravitated towards the tech field anyway.
So I'll jump in because I have I think out of three of us, I have, a very interesting start. Political science, communications, double major with
Wow.
an emphasis in PR. And everybody, I was talking to the dean of College of Business. He is like, he's looking at my profile on the screen. He's like, how in the heck did you get here? And through the military, engineer officer through the military. So a network is similar to a house and building and all that other stuff. So that's how I got there. But again, just taking the opportunity. I mean, I'm a security professional anyway, right? So physical risk, and then the last domain, cyber. And so with the cybersecurity part of it, I just like I said, we worked hard, researched, studied, and went there. And what you have to do is you have to know that the technology is open and it's needed. I ran into gentleman that works for Wells Fargo, and this gentleman that works for Wells Fargo manages all of the data for a billion-dollar bank with a undergrad major of English. So it really doesn't matter, the undergrad or graduate degree or whatnot. It's your grasp of technology, it's your grasp of people, process, and technology, which we're talking critical skills, we're talking soft skills, we're talking intangibles. To understand, those things is what employers are looking for now. So what they're looking for is they're looking for somebody with the technical knowledge, and they're also looking for those critical skills. Because if you have that, then you're able to, help them and command their space. So these are some of the things that you need to have. So
Awesome. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you guys so much for taking some time for us. But before we go, three different areas of tech, three pathways into tech, and I've got a room full of ninth graders, and we've got a lot of ninth and 10th graders that'll see this later, that are starting to decide their path after high school. So, why should these kids, no matter who they are, really consider getting into this tech space, no matter what their pathway is into it?
The opportunities is limitless. That's
Yeah.
that's the best way I can put it. The opportunities are limitless.
Yeah.
recession proof. This skill set, if you learn it with your hands, this skill set, it'll make you recession proof. During COVID, the hotel industry. Before I was trying to get this job, I was applying for other places, and I sat down and went through an interview with Marriott, and Marriott said, well, while we had COVID going on, it was like, we're going to take an opportunity to, plus up, IT and cybersecurity, because that doesn't stop, regardless of a pandemic or regardless of, all those things. It's recession proof. Tech is here, and you have to, know that. So.
Those are good answers. I like those responses. And I'll add, the reason I think they need to get involved is because the more people who get involved, I think we have different approaches and an opportunity to be innovative in what they're doing. So we definitely welcome the different perceptions and the different schools of thought, because as you can see from the panelists here, we all are from different fields, and that presents a different type of opportunities to bring solutions to a lot of the problems that we have in the marketplace. And again, as Dr. Reed said earlier, this is a global problem that we're having, and it's a global opportunity that we have to be involved to kind of resolve a lot of issues. So that will be definitely the thing, is different approaches.
Awesome. Well, again, we thank you guys so much for joining us. This is, I've really enjoyed this. I've got to have all three of you back at some point. But Damian Brown at Jackson State, Leslie Makuro with Data Smart, I hope I said your name right, and Dr. Muriel Reed with the City of Jackson. We thank you guys so much for taking time for us today.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.
All right. Bye-bye.